Alright, so I just got my limit here in Chelan. I have a long pedal back to the launch. But I thought I'd take this moment to go over what I consider my 5 most essential pieces of kokanee fishing equipment. And by far, the number one thing, especially if you're just getting started, you're probably going to be trolling for kokanee. This still matters too, even if you're jigging, is having a good fish finder that you're confident in, that you know how to use well. Because it's so critical, because the sonar not only tells you spatially within the lake where fish are, but it also gives you the depth. And if you're trolling and your fish finder has GPS, it's going to give you your troll speed. And those 3 pieces of information are pretty much what I consider the core of the kokanee formula, the formula you need for success. You need to fish on the lake where there are fish, obviously. You need to be at the right depth. Your presentation needs to be, whether that's trolling or whether it's a jig. It's still the same case. These fish are not going to move hundreds of feet through the water column to attack your gear. The closer to them you are, the better off you're going to be. And, troll speed is such a critical thing that I constantly see people overlooking. They're just going way too fast for these fish. These fish really prefer those slower troll speeds. All of that information is given to you with your sonar. So that is the most critical piece of equipment. And the second most critical piece of equipment is some kind of accurate line counter reel. There's a bunch of different line counter reels out there. Many of them are really good, and some are very bad. I have a whole video testing a variety of kokanee reels. A good line counter reel gives you the ability to have repeatable success, right? So if you have so much line out, so much weight out, and you catch a fish, then you can put it back in that same spot. And the same token, because most of us are going to be running multiple rods. Line counter reels also give you that confidence that you are spreading your gear out, targeting different depths. In the summertime, these fish are going to start out shallower in the morning and move deeper. And having your rods spread out, chasing those fish as they go deeper, or targeting fish at different depths if they're spread out. Like today, there were fish from 40 to 110 feet, right? And knowing that I had my gear going through the tops of schools and through the bottoms of schools, I couldn't do that without my line counter reels, which goes directly into snap weights, right? Because I do run, at times I will run a single downrigger, but I tend to favor these snap weights more than anything. Some people are running sliding weights. Both are fine, but the thing about snap weights or downriggers or whatever you're using, so unless you're somebody who fishes a lake where kokanee stay shallow year-round, at some point you're going to be chasing kokanee at depth. Now, I prefer the snap weights because of the flexibility of their deployment, how much quicker I can get them redeployed without having to crank up downrigger, because I can't have a motorized or battery-powered downrigger on my kayak. It's all manual, and sometimes I'm targeting fish at extreme depths of over 100 feet, and just cranking that thing up and down fatigues me. But with the snap weights, I can get up and down, and I can confidently hit different depths because of the trials I've done, the depth trials. I have this little chart, and I came out here today, I marked fish, I just clipped in the weights I wanted to, and I targeted those depths, and I caught those fish confidently. And that's why I love these snap weights. It just gives me a lot of flexibility. And if you're going to be chasing kokanee outside of the spring, odds are you're going to be chasing them at depth. And of course, even there's lakes like here I'm at today in Chelan, where those fish rarely, if ever, come to the surface. It's almost ideal kokanee temperatures at the surface right now, but those fish are still down at extreme depths. The fourth thing I think that's really vital is actually a quality kokanee net. And whether you're netting solo or with somebody else, there's a lot to take account in there, because your handle length might vary if you're fishing with somebody else versus solo. If you're fishing solo, and a really long net is going to make it tip heavy. It's going to feel heavier on the net end because of leverage and laws of physics. So sometimes a really long kokanee net doesn't work for the solo angler, whether you're in a boat or kayak. But they work great for people who fish with other people all the time, and you can have two hands on it and really use that long length. I say run the maximum length that you can handle, whether it's a two-handed because you have somebody else in the boat with you, or if you're by yourself. I'm trying to run as long a handle as I possibly can. This one's carbon fiber. It's got a really plastic, lightweight hoop on it, and then it's got rubberized nylon, which helps prevent tangles from the hooks, so I can get my gear out of that net really quickly and redeploy really quickly. But yeah, having the right net. Another thing is if you're a solo angler, especially kayak, go for a little bit oversized hoop size. Don't go for these smaller Kokanee nets I sometimes see. That's not really worth it. I also don't really like just the pure rubber net material for a couple reasons. One, it's really heavy. It's much thicker, so it has a lot of drag. So if I get scooped like that, it gets caught, it'll often slow me down a lot, and I have trouble pulling the net back out of the water. I really like the rubberized nylon. It tangles more than the pure rubber nets, but it's lighter, it's easier for me to handle, has the reduced drag. That's why I prefer that. Another thing is the rubber nets also have shallower baskets, and the fish tend to bounce out of them just a bit more. But I really like this one. This is a Freybill Ultralight. It's got a asymmetric handle, so you don't have to worry about trying to find the snap, so it just slides up and down only one way. It also floats, which is really critical for me as a kayak angler. If I drop it, or if the worst happens and I flip my kayak, I'm not going to lose a net. So yeah, I really like this net. And the fifth and final thing is actually just a lure, and that is this bright pink micro hoochie here from Paulina Peak. I'd say if there was any sort of essential Kokanee lure, it would be the micro hoochie. It doesn't work for me everywhere all the time, but it works for me an exceptional amount of times in a wide variety of places. It's like the quintessential Kokanee lure is just a pink micro hoochie. I like the Paulina Peak ones. They have a really strong UV presence, so even when you run them at depth, because of energy transfer and transformation at those depths, even a bright pink UV lure looks brighter at depth than it should be, because it's basically changing light from one spectrum to another. They just seem to love this bright pink Kokanee lure. And when I was doing the Kokanee Across America, and I did the Kokanee A tour up in British Columbia last year, I think almost all of my giants have always come on just a plain pink micro hoochie, and oftentimes I'm running it with something else out there. It's rare I'll run two plain pink micro hoochies, but the plain pink micro hoochie always seems to come away with the big ones. So those are my 5 essential pieces of Kokanee equipment. I'll put links to all of them below. Let me know what your most essential Kokanee fishing equipment is. Does it differ from mine? Is there something that you would add? I'd love to hear in the comments section below, and I'll see you next time. Just remember, fish smarter, not harder. Bye, guys.